Alrighty, guys. I already talked about Pollyanna from 1960, starring Haley Mills. Now let's talk about Polly, the remake of Pollyanna from 1960. And I say this is a remake because it's not taking anything from the story. It is actually pretty much a footnote of the 1960s Walt Disney version. David Swift, who directed that movie, has came back to be a consultant to write the script and everything else for this movie. The difference between this one really more so never is the cast. This is an all-black cast film, and I believe the only white actress in this movie was she played Mrs. Snow, and she was one of the Golden Girls. So seeing her was actually a pretty much breath of fresh air because she really is a good actress and she can actually play that role better than anybody else. And she has played that role pretty good, especially when it was very limited. They made it very clear they didn't want her to have a big push on that, but she made good what she has gotten. I'm gonna tell you right now. When I first saw this film, I was in my late teens, and I did not like this movie. I did not like it for the right reasons, but needless to say, I saw Pollyanna and I heard about this film called Polly. I heard it was a musical and I immediately turned it off. I was like, no way they should have done this. No way. I watched it as much as I could, but I just couldn't stomach it. It was like, no way, they messed up Pollyanna. This is not what Pollyanna is. And I'm not gonna lie, I misjudged this film. I really did. I did not, but that was because I was young. I didn't understand films. To me, my young mind was any film that keeps me entertained and got explosion is a good film. And it wasn't until a while I realized that's not always the case, especially seeing other great films that didn't require explosion, didn't require any kind of dazzling effects. Just a good story will make the film carry itself. And so. I decided to give this film another chance, and it was very easy to do, considering that someone had it on YouTube, and I was able to watch it in full. And I need to say, I do not regret it. This was a good experience, and I'm actually glad I gave it a second chance. Now, there are some still things I still have issues with, but those will be addressed later on in this audio. But I might as well just give you the gist of it. Polly, the pretty much is the same gist of the story. Polly, coming to live with her aunt. Only this time it's not by train; it's by bus. The setting is a little bit different. It is now Harrington, Alabama, 1955. So it's an all black neighborhood, an all black community, and she's going to live with this new community as well as her aunt. Same gist of the matter. She's getting to know the people. They get to know her. She's shining light on all of them. She meets Jimmy Bean. Her reaction with Jimmy Bean, I have to say, is a little bit mixed. At one time, I can see them clicking, but they also told my issues that I'm a little bit surprised they put in there. And this is the one thing I think they took a very big risk on, because this movie does take a lot of risk. And there's some that work and there's some that didn't. But needless to say, just the interactions with this character alone really. I had a very mixed feeling of how they portrayed Polly. Polly, I have to say Polly because her name is not Pollyanna in this movie. But needless to say, it's pretty much the same. Just if you got, if you saw the 1960 movie, it's pretty much following that pattern with a few changes down the road. But pretty much, she is an orphan child. She's living with her aunt. She loves her aunt, but her aunt is having a hard time loving her. She's very insecure. She's very strong on political views. She's very strong on duty and how things should be run proper. She's actually the richest black woman in all the town. Of course, her name proving that. Also, she's also somewhat of an activist in her own right. You can actually see everything there, and like other Polly Harrington's being portrayed in the Disney film, she really believes that this is if it's not done her way and her way to her liking, it won't get done, and she finds ways without really trying to go too far towards it to hint that she doesn't approve, and because she has so much power, people are afraid to do anything. And this is played well, more well with Patricia Rashad, who actually played the role of Polly Harrington and played it well. Um, I thought she played it very, very good. She was more emotional. She was really into this character, and I really did like seeing her on the screen because she really showed her her acting ability in this movie, and I really thought she was the highlight of the film more than anything else. It was very clear. Polly, Haley Mills, and most of the cast was highlighted in Pollyanna, but she really did. She was the strongest character in this movie. She was the strongest one because she really sold the Polly Harrington persona in this movie more than anybody else. So their own roles. Pretty much a situation has happened, and it has to do with the orphanage. And I'm gonna leave this one a little bit last because this is the one I really had a problem with. I had a problem with this when I was a teenager, and that hasn't changed. And being a person who's been experienced in orphanage himself, I can tell you that their reasoning to raise money really doesn't click with me, and I'll talk about that. But needless to say, they see a problem, and now the neighborhood wants to do things themselves to raise the money for the orphanage. So they had the bazaar, they're decorating, and we have the situation where they want to do it. But again, the fear of Polly Harrington is spreading in the town. She's pretty much been the reason. You have the dramatic with Dr. Chilton, who's really not a doctor, and I'll get to that in a minute. Busting into the room, basically telling her off, leaving. We have the scene where Polly, I gotta be careful how I say Polly, not Pollyanna, walks in and basically talks to the Reverend, who is, I believe, a Baptist Reverend. And that leads to him to change the heart because they do this through the fire and brimstone preach, and he does it pretty good. And in this one, he's more preaching more of happy thoughts and leads to a song, and I'll get to that in a minute, and which ends to going to the bazaar. Now the bazaar completely changed. I have to tell you about this. The bazaar, oh man. Probably looked like the most boringest bazaar I've ever seen. It really was. It was a boring, very uninteresting scene, and it didn't even last long. What we had was a scene with Mrs. Snow and Pendergast. And this scene is very, very important because it does play into a lot of stuff that goes on in this movie. And this is one of the things that, again, they took a very big risk on. Needless to say, it was a scene that they played in. It played throughout, leading right up to Jimmy Bean getting Holly to go sneak out to go to the bazaar. She tried to sneak out. She fell from the tree, and this is another change. And probably leads to the most tear-jerking reaction I ever had because, again, Patricia Machad sells this part well. She was crying hysterical. She was pretty much like any other mother would do when they see their child on the floor unconscious like that. And it really choked me up. And we have the scene where everybody's in the room. They get the bad news from the doctor that she's fine, but she's pretty much paralyzed. They don't know how to stand the damage. And we also have to see where everybody came to the house to tell their love and give their thanks to her, and it leads to another song, and also lead to a very interesting ending that was not in the books nor was in the 1960s, and this is where I get to the big risk. This movie, I already said, is an all-African cast. It's an all-black cast in this movie. And again, a lot of actors during that time, even to now, has a very mixed feeling of recasting a film that was generally for white audiences to become all black audiences. A lot of people spoke out against that. Um, you had people spoke out against this film because of that. You had people even speaking out against Steel Magnolias, which recently came on television. You had people who spoke out against Cat Hot Tin Roof and Golden Pond. And their main thing is about it is that they feel that Hollywood should come up with plays, scripts that is directly towards their liking, their choosing, their audience, and not just give us this film that's already been done. Only now we're gonna remake it for an all-black cast. And I can understand to a degree why they say that, but at the same time, I felt if it's done well and done right, it can work. And this one, to a certain degree, it worked. I don't think that there's no problem. Hey, this TV special won awards, and rightfully so. So I can't really say that this was a total waste of time. It was actually a well done play. Is it an isolated movie? Sorry, so I went to say movie, not play. But is it an isolated movie? Yes, it is. And is it a movie that touched on some nerves? Yeah, but that's not really the issue here. The issue is I don't think they went far enough. This movie touched on segregation. This is 1955. You know how segregation was in the South, and although they hinted it, they didn't really follow through. And one of the main theme is the bridge got burned down, and of course there's a lot of situations going on, and this is involving Mrs. Snow um, and Polly Harrington. They believe that Polly Harrington had the bridge burned down because she don't want nobody to mix with nobody from her town mixed with the people in their town. Same thing with Snow. They felt that she was responsible for burning down the bridge, so that way her people would mess with their people. So you had that racial tension going on, and when I'm watching this film, one, I didn't felt that way, and two, they didn't really address this issue to the point where it became the main topic. It was never really the main topic. It was there, but they really didn't try to. They didn't even go further in exploring that. And like I said, Holly, who visited Mrs. Snow, really not one time felt threatened by her. She didn't make any, nasty remarks on her. In fact, during the scene where if you remember the 1960 version where she's picking the lining for a coffin and everything else, in this scene, she requested, she had a black pallbearer, at least I'm thinking he's a pallbearer, actually help pick up the lining for his coffin. And I'm pretty sure that pallbearer was Jason Allen Greer. I may be wrong, but every time I looked at him and said that can't. Is it Jason Allen Greer? I mean, maybe he just looks like him. But see what I'm getting at. So this idea that they playing the black white race thing, I think they really, if they was gonna go with that, they should have just went with that. They hinted at it, but they never really went any further. There was one scene when the doctor said, I think she called Pollyanna Pickaninny, I think he said, and everybody, including Mrs. Snow, wasn't going to go for that. And Harrington got on him very, very quick when she heard that. And that was actually a good, strong theme, because even everybody said that was a little bit uncalled for. But this is where it leads to the changes of the movie. Because this was a musical, this had more of a musical theme than anything else. And this is where the isolation comes in, more so than even the touching on the segregation and racial tolerance. The musical in this movie, it's like at least, I believe, 9, 10 musics. Sweet Little Angel Eyes was actually a pretty good song. You also had Stand Up, which was an excellent song. The one that was sung by Patricia Machard, wonderful. She definitely had the voice I love to hear her sing. I love that. I was hoping I could find some more stuff pertaining to her singing. I know there's a lot out there. Just gotta go look. And for the most part, the songs overall is good. It ain't great. There are some forgettable music numbers here. When Pollyanna was packing her stuff, sorry, Polly was packing her stuff. She sung a song. I can't remember. It went out the one year, came out the next. Uh, but overall, these are good songs. These are the songs that actually won them awards. But I'm not gonna lie to you. If you haven't grown up in a Baptist setting, or even or a fan of gospel music, you're really not gonna give this the time of day. You really have to really understand or pretty much appreciate what the gospel songs are, and this is definitely gospel. If you have been in a Baptist church, the songs they are sung is definitely will pretty much be sung in the church. That's how strong these songs are. There's not many songs that doesn't have Christian sound to it, and it's not a bad thing. Trust me, it's not. When I came in here, I pretty much guessed it was going to do this. But this is one of the better Christian films, and I have to say Christian film because let's be honest, this is what you're getting into. And I don't have a problem with that. This done a great job. It didn't overdo it, and that was the thing. It didn't overdo it. It just gave you enough to still appreciate the music. At the same time, it didn't was too much of a distraction. Here's what's my distraction. When you have the kids talking about race and talking about it as if they were grown adults. I don't know how many kids go on and talk about that. I do know there are some who do curious the difference between them. They do bring up some good points about some people hating on each other. Never even went to the person's house, don't know where the person live. But overall, I felt that the betrayal of Pollyanna, which by the way is played by none other than Rudy Huxtable herself. Wonderful job she did. I believe her name was Rakisha Knight, I believe, and she actually played the role of Rudy Huxtable, which make the chemistry between her and Patricia Rashad all more good because they work together, they know each other's strength and how to cover their weaknesses, and they didn't disappoint at all. So seeing them two in that role, I was actually kind of happy because they knew how to work together, and they have worked together on numerous occasions. But in this case, I didn't think she made the best Pollyanna. She wasn't terrible, but she wasn't that good either. There was a lot of things I really... most of her songs I did not like. Jimmy Bean had the best song. She didn't. I really did not know what it was. It's just she wasn't as interesting as it is, and it's kind of funny because she played the age you has come to expect from the book. She was actually the right age for that character. I just didn't really grasp her. She didn't really keep me interested from beginning to end. It was the people who she interacted around her that actually kept me interested, and there was a lot of good stars in this film, and they done their job well. I will say this though, the changes they did it was a little bit surprising. Like for instance, Mr. Snow's daughter's not in this movie. Dr. Chilton, which is not a doctor, he's a magician, and they made some excuse of saying that most magicians are called doctors. I seriously doubt that that's the case. But the one thing they made a change that I really was a little bit mad about is the orphan situation. Now, in the 1960s Pollyanna, there was a situation where the orphanage was basically falling apart. They needed a new building. You can only fix it for so long. And that's why the bazaar was, the idea of bazaar came from, so they can raise money for the orphanage. And this one, the children are leaving. They're just walking out and not coming back because it's boring. They said education is boring, it's not fun, and that's why they're walking away. And I know why they did it, because they want to put the music theme. If you put music and all these other stuff in there, the kids will stay. And I'm like hearing this, I'm like, wow, that doesn't make any sense. First of all, I'm pretty sure even in the 1950s, no kid can just walk out from an orphanage. That would be considered AWOL. They will find you. They will put you back in the orphanage, or they'll put you somewhere else. That's how it is. I mean, that's the way it goes. Too, from looking at Jimmy Bean and the rest of the orphanage, you never once got the feeling that they was having a hard time. They looked like they was having fun to me. So there's a lot of stuff that theme just didn't add up. I would prefer them saying that the building is falling apart and we need to fix a new one, and that would be it. So that always got on my nerves when they changed that up. Reverend Ford, he was fine. I have no problem with that. He was good. He was not in many roles, but he wasn't enough to pretty much make an impact, especially in the end. And overall, I think the only real beef is, like I said, the overall theme for what happened to Bazaar. Which, by the way, again, this was probably the most uninteresting Bazaar I've ever seen. And the only reason why they had that scene is because to get Mrs. Snow together and Pendergast, who admitted burning down the bridge, but by accident, only to tell her that, we're trying to all fool. We need to bury the hatchet and try to move forward. It was kind of a weird and probably just a rush scene because the way it handled. I mean, if you hear what was going on about the bridge being burned, how bitterness was happening, and hearing the news of what he said and how okay, everything's fine. I just find it a little bit rush. They could have done something better than what they did than just throwing that there. And again, you would think out of all the stuff they had, because if you look back in the 1960s, that Bazaar was lively. It was dancing, it was singing, it was having a good time. It looked like barely anybody was there. I'm like, what Bazaar is this? I mean, normally you would have some people going, shouting for joy or something. You had a dance number. I do happy that they took out that scene where Pollyanna was singing America, America, America the Beautiful. Didn't think it was there, and I didn't think it was necessary in that movie, and then thankfully they didn't put it in this film. But that's pretty much lost me because they changed that scene. In the scene, you all know Pollyanna, fell from the edge of the window because she was trying to reach for a doll, and she fell, and man, was that a scary moment. In this one, Jimmy Bean went to get her. She already had a doll, by the way, so the doll was not an issue. She, went to get her, and when she tried to climb out the window, I think she lost. She didn't show what happened, but you heard her screaming, and that's when Jimmy Beam morphed from one floor down to the next. I mean, he was just there, and the most heart-wrenching, gave tears to my eyes. Seeing when she just went hysterical, in shock and hysterical, what has happened, because she possibly could have lost her niece right there. That was just like, damn, I don't even know if I can watch any more of this. Even though I pretty much knew it was going to be alright at the end, but that was an emotional feed. And that scene right there sell it for me, because the way she reacted, I don't care, black, white, green. You see your daughter on the floor like that, lying on the country, you're gonna cry hysterical. You're gonna go nuts. Not to say that the 1960 version did a bad job. I mean, she was just, to me, she had a different kind of shock. She was like, no, this is not happening. That's not her on the floor. She saw it and she just nearly lost her mind. She was just helpless. She couldn't do anything, which led to that dramatic scene where she's like really blaming herself, and she's also blaming how she wanted love and she really couldn't give. She refused to give it to her. And now she's paying for it and stuff, and you have everybody basically trying to cover her, saying this is not your fault. She's gonna make it through and everything else. So I felt that scene had a more powerful stake because I really wanted to know what happened next. And again, the acting is fine. The acting is good. What I think that hurt the music is some of the music scores were a little bit forgettable. There were other music scores that pretty much makes up for that because there were actually great songs that I would recommend you listen to. They're very, very good songs. Again, my beef is if you're gonna go with the segregation theme and you want to try and make a point about race is wrong, then do it. Don't mention it and then back away from it because sometimes it gives to the audience a bad impression. I did not think they did a good job with that. I think that if you're gonna go with it, go with it. Don't go with it just for a little bit and then push it away because again, that is a very sensitive issue. And you can't play games with that issue. And even though they did manage to bring a point across in the end with the Doctor, I still felt they dropped the ball a little bit on that. Other than that, it's a very good special. It's a very, very neat special. I'm glad I actually gave it another try. Again, my youth years tend to shy away with films like that because I don't understand it probably. My mind is looking for action, nothing else. But I'm glad I gave this film another shot. It's a very good movie. The problem is, again, it is pretty much isolate themselves. If you're not into the gospel, you probably will not like the music. That's, there's nothing wrong with that. It is one of those films. It is got a Christian theme, but it's not a terrible Christian film. This is a film that is actually pretty much a pretty good movie. Performances, again, sorry Rudy, as you're not was horrible, but you wasn't great either. And I think that the thing that I really do honestly believe that hurt it is they let her try to be more smarter than what she should have been. Even in the book they didn't do it, and even in 1960 they didn't do it. And again, that really, it didn't vote well with me on that. But in all, it is a fun, heartwarming 3-star special. It's very, very good. If you guys have a chance, you should check it out on YouTube. It is there on YouTube. Look for Polly. As a matter of fact, I'll probably leave a link for you guys to check it out. It's a very, very it's well worth a watch. It definitely is, especially if you watch the 1960s version, and you want to see how the 1989 fare out. Then you won't be disappointed. So that's the only thing I can pretty much tell you about this movie. As for the sequel, because this is the only Pollyanna / Polly sequel that they actually done, called Polly Coming Home. If I can find it and I can actually look at it and have time to look at it, I'll probably do a review on it. It probably won't be through the holiday season. It'll probably be a little bit later on down the road. But again, if I can find it, I will probably give it a review. It is one of those movies, I think it's on a double disc. If you have Polly, you'll probably get Polly Coming Home both at the same time. It's unfortunate, but that's how it is. Or if the person who did manage to put this film in put down Polly Coming Home, I will definitely check it out. It's definitely worth me giving it a shot. It's definitely a different take, and it's the only sequel that they have done from the Glad series, the Glad books they actually call it. So that's my opinion on it. It's a good movie. The music is okay. There are some great songs. There are not so great songs, but again, it is all about taste and whether or not you guys get able to accept some of the gospel Christian themes that's in the film. Other than that, I have no problem with this. So that's my feeling on Polly. What you think about this movie? Did you see it? Did you didn't see it? Did you like it? Did you not like it? Let me know. Let me know in the comment section. Tune in. This is J77 saying take care, be safe. I'll talk to you soon.